Okay, good morning. We're going to learn now the Kuntris in Yoshateres Chasidus. We're in middle. We finished explaining the basic meaning of Modeh Ani according to Pshat. And just for the record, Moshe, I did look into Shara Kolel, and guess what? It says nothing about your question. So the next place I have to look at is the Siddur that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Raskin, a friend of mine out of England, wrote a tremendous, excellent commentary on the Alter Rebbe Siddur with footnotes, which I don't have right now here. I would think that there he addresses the differences between the two nuschos. So I did want to get back to you. And I did see that you sent me a note from Nissim Mendel's book, My Prayer. I didn't look at it yet. But does he address that at all?
Not the issue that I was questioning. Not really.
Right. So why are you giving me this? Why are you showing me this? Why are you holding the siddur?
Is this the siddur you're talking about? With Rabbi Raskin?
No.
No.
It's all Hebrew. It's about 900 pages. No. Most people in the Lubavitchers don't have it. It's a specialty item in a sense. You'll find one in a shul or like that, but not every household has it. No. Okay.
I'm curious to know what it looks like.
I would think Rabbi Farrell has it, so you can ask him to bring it one day to shul or something. I would think he has it. Okay, let's go to page 59. Second paragraph. In Yonei Shel Modeh Ani al pi chelik haremes shebetoira, colon. The idea of Modeh Ani as from the perspective of Remez, which means the illusion or intimated, is the following. Hachazoras hanishoma b'chol boiker romezes l'tchias hamesim. The restoration of the soul each morning, romezes, alludes to, hints to, the shoresh of the word is remez, Yonason, right? So here we're talking about the Chelik HaTorah, which is Remez. What is it Remez to? What is it a Remez to? Tchius HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. And he explains. Kishina, I mentioned this earlier in the other shiurim, but here it says it in writing, so it's good to read it in the writing. Kishina hi echad mishishim b'misa. Shinas is 1/60th of death. Note 94, Gemara and Brachas, 57b, Zohar, etc. Okay? Uvameil, and therefore, Yaini, Hachazoras haneshama, when the soul is restored, he me'ain tchias hamesim. It is similar, it's me'ain. It's analogous, kind of. It reminds us of Avram, resurrection of the dead. Right? Anyone who thinks that at night, they're fully in control, wake up and smell the coffee. Okay? Yes, we are responsible. The Gemara and Bava Kama, right? You guys learned it, I'm sure, sometime. If someone leaves a jug at your feet at night, and you sleep and you move your feet and you break the card, you break the jug at the end of the bed, are you responsible or not? Why would there even be a discussion if I'm asleep? And the answer is because before you went to sleep, you should have never have left the jug over there, knowing that maybe you'll move to the right or the left. You're asleep and you break the jug, you'll be responsible. And that's the discussion in the Gemara. What do we see? That there is responsibility on one hand. At the same time, the responsibility is why you left it there before you went to sleep. But while you're asleep, you're asleep. And the Gemara says, it's a Gemara, it's not Kabbalah, it's not Chasidus, it's not Musar. It's a Gemara. That it's a 60th of death. When we get up in the morning, and Hashem restores our neshama to us, it's a miniature Tchias HaMesim. Says the Rebbe that Modeh Ani alludes to this miniature Tchias HaMesim. And so this is what we call the Remez application of Torah. In other words, let me ask you, according to the simple text, according to the simple meaning, when you get up in the morning, do you have to say, hey, I was resurrected last night? No. You weren't resurrected. But the truth is, it alludes to resurrection. That's why we call it. I want you to understand this, Chevra. It's a remez to Tchias HaMesim. If it were Isser to be Tchias HaMesim Mamish, it wouldn't be a remez. It would be Pshat. If restoration of the soul each morning would be a resurrection experience, literally, it wouldn't be a remez. It wouldn't only be an allusion to it, a hint to it. It would be actuality. It would be Pshat. We're saying, no, it's not Pshat. You meet someone in the street, you say, hey, fella, last night you had resurrection of the dead. He says, what, are you out of your mind? He says, well, no, of course. You got up this morning. You're wrong and he's right. Literally, didn't have resurrection of the dead. I'm sorry. Hashem, as long as a person alive, gives life and death and wakes up in the morning. Oh, you're telling me it hints to resurrection of the dead. That I understand. So that's why this idea is not pshat. It's from the chelik haremez shebetorah. Is that clear? It's a very good example, a simple example, and it should be very clear the differentiation between pshat, literal interpretation, and remez, what it alludes to. Let's continue. Yes.
So we said that just as Hashem will, or just as I got up this morning and I was sleeping, and because I want to stick to the chest, Hashem will in the future bring the dead to life.
Okay, that's also remez. No problem.
Just as.
What?
Just as.
Just as. Yes. Okay, fine. But that's not pshat. It's very important. It's very important to distinguish between what's pshat and what's remez. And by the way, we have to train ourselves to think this way and speak this way, because so many B'nai Torah and so many from people just put everything in one bag, and that sometimes causes problems and issues and disagreements. Give me the pshat. If you say this is the pshat, and there's Remez, there's Drush, there's Sod, etc., no problem. But how many times do you hear a speaker speak and he doesn't do that? And so if it's a crowd that's kind of, cheering him on, as we say, preaching to the choir, lahavdil, no problem. But imagine you go into a crowd which is foreign to this type of thinking, and you present it that way, they'll think you're a fool, or a liar, or just a troublemaker. So this is important for us speakers, particularly, and I know some of you do some public speaking or siyumim, to know your audience and present the material in a way that speaks to the audience. And depending on the audience, that's how you share your idea. In other words, say you go into a Litvish shul and you want to present an idea from Chasidus. So if you give an introduction and you say this is a Hasidic interpretation, they hear it loud and clear. If you don't, present the Pshat, present the Halacha, present the Gemara, and afterwards say the Hasidic interpretation includes etc., etc. That is crystal clear. Believe me, you'll still have people that will disagree, but that's not the point. But the point is that you made yourself very clear, and also you show that you are a knowledgeable person. Just the other day here in Coral Springs here, someone gave a wonderful shiur about the Coral Springs Eruv. Really, the person himself who runs around and really tremendous day and night, making sure the Eruv is kosher, and it's so much work. So he presents it. And he didn't mention anything about Moshe Feinstein's ruling. So I asked him, and he said, well, I'm not dealing with that. I went over to him afterwards. I said, imagine there were 10 Litfucks in the room now. They would think you're out of your mind. Now, Moshe Feinstein is the Pesach Adoyer, and he gave a ruling that everyone knows, any Ben Torah knows about, the Erev, and you don't even mention him. And I know you're speaking to a Chabad crowd, in a Chabad house, in an Anashu, I understand, but Rav Moshe is not cheap change. It's Rav Moshe Feinstein. So the least you can do is mention that there is the psak of Rav Moshe. I haven't looked into it. I'm not following that mahalach. And it happens to be he agrees, I think, because he's against the area of Manhattan and in Brooklyn. Rav Moshe was against it. That's why the Litvisher don't keep the Erev, you know that, in New York. Outside is a different story, but he didn't even mention it. Now, so I was trying to teach him. I don't know if he got it. You know, he didn't really have a strong Messiah as a background, and that you can see the difference between someone who has a Messiah and doesn't. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, there's a certain Messiah you get in yeshiva from youth. And if you're in the community, that it's in your DNA. It's and then you can see someone who might know the subject matter better than you because that's his field, but he's missing the click. You know, sometimes a stroke patient can speak, Baruch Hashem, but what's missing? The click. The click from the brain to the ear. There's a click, and that one click is the difference between the stroke patient pre and after the stroke, even if he has what we call a positive result from the stroke, but the click is missing. The click is the Messiah. And if you have a Messiah, then you know how, if you're in that world, to market and present your case. It's just like, we don't have a lawyer here, I don't think. A good lawyer, wasn't a good and bad lawyer, a good lawyer knows what to say, when to say, what not to say, and the right body movements. And that's all the difference. The other one might be even a greater mind and have more information. But he doesn't have that. The lawyer that does have it will be more successful. And we saw this lahavdil over and over with the lahavdil O.J. Simpson, with that famous case in the 90s, you remember, the murder case. And you know, they hired this goyish, black person, what was called, Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
Johnny Cochran.
I think he died already, right? What was he? If you saw the way he maneuvered, and it was like exact, or even Alan Dershowitz, right? Why are they world's experts? Why? Or Ben Brofman, the criminal lawyer, because they know the click. They know the click. And that's what you pay them for, because they know the click. And their click makes an impact on the judge, and you win the case, usually. You know?
Down in my show, Randy.
Who?
Ben Brofman. Ben Brofman, yeah.
Yeah, you mean in Brooklyn? In Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Flatbush.
Yeah. Well, no, but anyway, let's go back to the text. I'm going to go on the side. I'm saying that when we're learning about Pshat and Remez, I'm sharing a overall message that's important for you when you're learning and meeting people and talking to people and sharing people, to be clear what's Pshat, what's Remez, what's Drush, what's Sod. Again, you're talking to Boston and Stiebel, it's all Chassidim. You don't need to, everyone is waiting for a Chassidish Wort.
Oh, it's not all Chassidim.
Okay, sorry.
And Dafka, when the Rebbe from Borough Park would come, before we had the Stiel, but he would come to Farbrengen, he would quote the Vilna Gaon, he would quote Rebbe Miller, and he would say, who wants to hear a Chassid quote the Baal Shem Tov? Talk about the Vilna Gaon. Mamash.
Yeah, so, he understood his crowd. You understand? That's okay. Let's go back to the text now. Uvemela hachazoras haneshama he me'ain tchias hamesim. Me'ain. The word over here, Moshe, me'ain is very important. In English, the resurrection of the dead is similarity. Is of an order. The English translation is of an order. That's the way they translate the word me'ain. There's another English word I would use, a resemblance of resurrection. You returned, my soul. Rabba emunasecha, your faith is abundant. The fact that you returned my neshama. We know Sherabu emunasecha letchios hamesim. Chavre, you hear? Rabba emunasecha, abundant is your emunah. Ask, which emunah are we talking about? Rabba emunasecha, not faith in you, not just faith in you, faith in the resurrection. One of the Ani Mamins is that there'll be Tchios HaMesim, Rabba emunasecha. The emunah of the resurrection becomes abundant every morning when we say Modeh Ani. Now, again, Avram, move into the center of the screen. I can't see your face. You're half blocked, please. In other words, must you, Avram, must you say that Rabba emunasecha refers to the emunah and the resurrection? No. A Yid says, Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayim shechazarta, Rabba emunasecha. What emunah? Your emunah is great. Your faith that you restore soul into me and I believe in you, God, is great. That's it. Here we're saying no. Remez, the part of the Torah that's called the Remez part of Torah says your Rabba emunasecha, the faith in you, God, is great. That one day you're going to resurrect all dead bodies, just as you resurrected me this morning. That's not pshat. That's Remez. Okay. Now we go to the next chelik of Torah called Drush, homily. You know, it's like saying, what's the translation for the word tefillin in English?
What's homily mean?
Exactly. What does homily mean? Tefillin, phylacteries. Phylacteries. What are phylacteries? Boxes. Drush comes from the word drash, to expound. The English proper word is homilies. What does it mean? A drush, an expansion, to expound. Let's look inside. In Yonah, last paragraph on page 59. In Yonah shel Modeh Ani, the idea of Modeh Ani, al pi chelik hadrush b'Torah, based on the part of Torah called drush, medrash. Quote, not quote, but colon. Here it is. Hachazoras haneshama b'chol beker, the restoration of the soul each morning. Chadoshim libikorim. That's a quote, I believe, from a pasuk. They are new every morning. Every morning we're new. Yes, Moshe.
Rabbi Delvin, forgive me, I'm sorry. I think it seems today, for some reason, when you lean into your screen, we lose your voice. You cut out.
Okay, thank you. So if I stand this way, it's better, yes?
Yeah, thanks, thank you.
Thank you. Should have told me that earlier. I'm sorry. Okay, good. Thank you for telling me. So, Hachzoras HaNeshama B'chol Boker, returning the Neshama every morning. Chadoshim leBakorim. Like the word Chadoshim is the word Chadash, new. LaBakorim from the word Boker, morning. Right? They are new each morning. Masha Kodesh Baruch Hu Machzir Lo Adam Es Nishmosai. The fact that Hashem returns to a person their soul, שיפקידי אצלוי ואינם מעכבס ביד החייב שאדם חייב לוי. What happened? The debt. We give every day Hashem returns the soul which was entrusted to him. We gave back the neshama. Guess what? We have luggage from that day. And we have a debt to God. Hashem could say, hey fellow, I'm not returning till you pay the debt. I gave you credit for a day and you left me with a debt. Okay, I will return it to you when you pay your debt. Hashem doesn't do that. So let's continue now. Modeh al goydel emunose shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. This denotes the great faith of God. And quoting the Rabba emunosecha, your emunah is abundant. In other words, the fact that you give back to me my soul, even though I left a debt, shows how much you trust me. Rabba emunosecha, great is your faith in me, God. And that's again not a literal meaning of the Rabba emunosecha. This is what we call a drush, a drusha. You know, a sermon. It's a sermon. It's a nice concept. Right? In other words, must you think in the morning, I gave my God my soul. It was full of stuff throughout the day. I owe God. He gave me something clean. I gave it back to him dirty. I owe him. He messed up my soul. He messed up the soul that he gave me. Clean it up. You didn't do it, you're not getting it back. He gives it to me anyway. Wow, you're a great guy. You have such faith in me that tomorrow I'm going to clean it up. That's what we call a drosha. A rabbi gives a good sermon. It's an inspiring idea. It's a drosha. Let's continue. And over here again, look at the word dorshim is in bold. Because we're emphasizing what part of Torah? The Rash. The third part. Pshat, Remez, Drush. That's why he boldens the word dorshim. From this we expound and we learn that man too needs to be faithful and trusting in the same way. You hear that? It is forbidden to hold back an article from his friend because of the debts that one owes him. Now it has some real practical relevance. You give someone a loan, they're supposed to pay back by such and such date, and they don't. What do people do sometimes? They withhold. When you pay me back, I will release the picadon. What do we call a picadon?
Deposit.
Thank you. I mean, it's funny, renters and buyers and the property. I have a deposit. You move out, you don't clean up, you don't get your deposit back. You only get part of it back, etc. Hashem says, every morning, do I keep back the deposit from you that you gave me the night before? I don't. If I were to keep it back, you wouldn't wake up in the morning. And believe me, I have reason to keep it back. You schmutzed up my gift I gave you yesterday. But I don't do that. I give back right? So you too give back the deposit. It's a very nice thought, but this is not literal. It's not what it alludes to. This is what we call a sermon, a drusha. That's why the Modeh Ani, according to the Drush understanding of Torah, is this interpretation. Let's continue. We'll finish the day with this last paragraph. Page 61. In Yonai shel Modeh Ani al pi chelek hasod shebetoira. What's the meaning of Modeh Ani based on the Kabbalistic insight of Torah? We have Rabbi Yonason, the Bala Kabbalah, with us, so he's going to enjoy this particularly. You ready? Melech Chai V'Kayim, the everlasting, eternal King. Hu Pchinas HaMalchus. This refers to what we call the number 10 Sfirah of the 10 Sfirot, called Melech Malchus. Kingship, royalty. K'moishehi miyuchedes im Pchinas HaYesod. This is the way Malchus is miyuchad, is united with the number 9 Sfirah, which is called Yesod, the foundation. I'll explain in a moment. In brackets, Ki Melech Moire L'Sfiras HaMalchus. The word Melech of Modeh Ani Lefanecha, Melech Chai V'Kayim, alludes to the sphere of Malchus. V'Chai V'Kayim, the fact that it's living and everlasting. This is an allusion to L'Sfiras HaYesod. This represents the 9th Sfira Yesod. The reason for that is, it's the Yesod, it's the foundation of man, the part of the body, the organ of the individual that is the everlasting aspect of man, because through reproduction, through the Yesod, we have the continuation of seed, of eternity. You see, now here I just want to, for a moment, show you how you learn, these ideas are from Kabbalah. But in Kabbalah, you won't necessarily have the explanation, or you won't have what I just told you. I'm telling you this because I learned Chasidus, and I was taught this by my teachers. So therefore, we understand. I'm not saying that, someone who studies truly Kabbalah will not ask himself the question, why is Yesod Chai V'Kayim? Because really, if you're really a student of Kabbalah, you should stop and say, why do we say that Chai V'Kayim is Yesod? In other words, Kabbalah isn't just mumble jumble, just accept words. By the Sfardim, that's the way they read Kabbalah. Like we read Tillim, they read Zohar. But for an Ashkenazi, for sure, you want to understand. So the truth is, even when you read in Kabbalah that Yesod is Chai V'Kayim, you have to ask yourself whether you're a chassid or not, why? But the fact is, usually it's not done that way. And it's just an accepted fact, shaking the head. Chasidus, the Baal Shem Tov, opened up for us this whole approach to understand. Now, we also know that there was disagreement within the Hasidic rabbis over, whether you should or you shouldn't, the difference between the Avram Kalisker and the Balatanya, etc., and the Lechavitcher, these were issues that were discussed and disagreed upon, but regardless, Torah needs to be understood. So here we say that Malchus, Melech, Chai V'Kayim, Melech is Malchus. Chai V'Kayim is Yesod. Back to the text. V'zeu Melech Chai V'Kayim shechzartem b'nishmasi shechazores haneshama bo mebchinas Malchus. From what aspect of God is the soul being returned? From Melech. Not Melech, God as a king. Melech as Malchus within God. That aspect of the sphere of God. But not the way Melech is separate from Yesod, the way Melech is united with Yesod. And why is this important? Why can't we say that there's the restoration of the soul from Malchus to us without Yesod? In other words, why do we say Yoini Melech Chai V'Kayim? Melech, Modeh Ani Lefanecha Melech. Why must we add the adjective that God is Chai V'Kayim? If we wouldn't say Chai V'Kayim, Avram, it wouldn't be adequate. God, the King. We have to, yes, sir.
Can I take a shot at it?
Sure.
Malchus is receptive, and he said, so it doesn't have the power on its own to do that.
Very good.
It needs to be joined with one of the other spheroids in order to accomplish.
Yes, but that last few words is not right with one of the other sefirot, not just with one of the others, with Yesod particularly. And that, in the next class, which Hashem will look at the note, I think it clarifies the note. But you're on the right track. Very good. And what Isser said, just to clarify, Malchus is a receptacle, a receiver. A receiver is not in the giving mode. Here, we want the animation of the restoration of the soul to enliven you throughout the day. If it were to be only from the Malchus, you wouldn't have the oomph. You would be in a receiving mode, and you need to be also in a giving mode. Yesod is the element within Malchus, or better said, the unity of Yesod, Melech, Chai v'Kayim, together creates a proper receptacle with an energized ability to create and produce throughout the day. And mind you, Velvel, it doesn't mean that you have to take a bat and a ball to produce. You can be a producer thinking. Produce something. Every morning when you get up, and I want to conclude with this, every morning when you get up, because this is important, bottom line, every morning you get up, a person should say, what am I going to do today to produce? And keep to that script as the day goes on. Yes, and we have disruptions, and we have this, and we have that. So maybe you didn't get to fully do the full production as you wanted in the morning when you got up and you said Modeh Ani, etc. But a little bit, you began. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to, at the end of the day, to look back at your day and say, in the morning, 12, 15, 18 hours ago, I wanted to do this today, and I got bogged down with so many things, and stress, and headaches, and but at least I started. Of course, if you can do more, it's even more gewaldig. And I think if in the morning, that's why the morning is such an important time. It sets the tone for the day. And that's why getting up early is such a wonderful thing. I really, you can always sleep later, I say. I'm not talking about after 120, it'll be plenty of time to sleep. I'm talking even later in the day. In other words, my suggestion is get up early, and even if you're tired later, lay down later. Because the quality of your day by getting up early and setting your day in the beginning is nothing is it's special. It's gewaldig. It really is gewaldig. And also it makes you happy, and it gives you this, excitement. And even if there's a difficult issue that you have to encounter during the day, still getting up in the morning gives you a certain boost and energy, whether through davening, through tefillah, and through, mikveh, whatever the hachanas for prayer is. It's a gewaldige gazach, and what does Shlomo Melech say in Mishlei? I have the exact quote, but like when we waste time, it's like the greatest sin. Yeah, it's like we wasted time. So when you get up early, even if later in the day you waste time, but you in the morning you had that quality, so it's really very therapeutic. You feel you accomplished something. And you feel you accomplished something, you're a happier person. Your wife sees it, your kids see it, your friends see it. Have a great day. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Shalom. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.